What does it actually mean to be wise? Is it just knowing lots of facts, reading books, or is there something else, something deeper going on?
And that's a great question. It really cuts to the heart of it, doesn't it? We often think wisdom is, well, just intellectual stuff.
But is that the whole story? Could there even be different kinds of wisdom, different levels?
Exactly. And many traditions explore that.
Which is what we're diving into today. We've got this really fascinating source material. It's a talk from a very highly respected Buddhist master, Luang Pu Wat Paknam.
Given way back on March 4th, 1954.
Right. And it takes a deep look at wisdom, Paññā, they call it in Pali, and how it's presented in the Buddhist teachings.
Yeah, so our mission here, for you listening, is to really unpack this teaching. We want to understand the distinction it makes between these different levels of wisdom.
And explore the perspective Luang Pu offers, which is quite unique, maybe even a bit surprising, how wisdom is and how it's well achieved.
And we'll keep it straightforward. Stick to English mainly. We won't get bogged down in long Pali bits. Just focus on the meaning. Clear for everyone listening.
Exactly. You're here for the insights, right?
Oh, yeah.
Not a language class. So let's jump in. The source says the Buddha talked about Paññā in two main ways, two levels.
That's the basic structure, yeah. It uses these Pali terms, Hidimanapi Pariyana
Okay.
and Uparimanapi Pariyana. Basically, you can think of them as the lower way and the higher way.
Lower and higher ways of having wisdom or applying.
Sort of different perspectives on it, or different applications, you could say.
Yeah.
Different dimensions of the same quality.
Okay, got it. Lower way, higher way. So what's the difference then? What makes one lower? Who has this lower wisdom, according to the talk?
Well, the source says this lower way, it's found in an Arya Savako,
Which means?
a noble disciple.
Mm-hmm.
And this disciple is described as Paññava Hoti, meaning simply they are wise.
Okay, so a noble disciple has this first level. What's its nature, though? What kind of wisdom is it?
It's described specifically. It's possessing Udayata Gaminya Paññāyas Mandagato.
That's a mouthful. What does it mean?
It means wisdom that understands arising and passing away.
Ah, arising and passing away. Impermanence. Udayata.
Exactly, Udayata. That's the Pali root.
Mm-hmm.
The core insight here, according to the source, is really seeing impermanence deeply.
Seeing it, not just thinking about it.
Right. And this wisdom, it penetrates noble truth. Arya Nibit Dibetaya is the term, meaning it can, cut through delusion.
Okay.
And it leads towards the cessation of suffering. That's Amadukkakaya Gaminya.
So this lower wisdom, its main feature is grasping impermanence, seeing that everything's always changing.
Precisely. The source actually paints a very clear picture. It says, this wisdom sees arising and passing away. They use the Thai koraba in absolutely everything.
Everything.
Everything you encounter. What you see, hear, smell, taste, touch, even what the mind knows. All of it is seen as being born and then, ceasing.
Anything that comes into being goes out of being. And the wise person sees that deeply.
Exactly. It's not just an abstract idea. They know it with wisdom. But the source makes an interesting point here.
Oh, what's that?
It suggests this level isn't necessarily seeing wisdom itself directly. It's more like knowing with wisdom. Later, it calls this surface wisdom, or maybe peel wisdom.
Surface wisdom.
Yeah, the part ordinary people can maybe grasp. It's based on knowing, and perhaps seeing conceptually, this truth of impermanence.
Huh. Okay. So the lower wisdom is this deep, pervasive insight that everything's in flux, arising, passing away, and knowing this helps point towards ending suffering. That sounds pretty significant already, honestly.
Oh, it is. It's foundational.
Yeah.
But then there's a higher way, Uparimanapi Pariyana.
Right, the second level. Who has this one?
The source links this to a bhikkhu, a monk, in this context. Someone really engaged in deep study and practice of the teachings.
Okay, a dedicated practitioner. And how is this higher wisdom different? What's its nature?
This is described as knowing yatavuta pajanati,
Yatavuta.
which means knowing according to reality. Knowing things as they truly are. And the source is very specific. This higher wisdom is knowing the Four Noble Truths, yatavuta.
Knowing the Four Noble Truths as they really are. Okay, let's walk through those as the talk presents them.
Right. So first, ida dukkha. This is suffering.
Suffering. We hear that a lot.
Yes, but the source here goes deeper than just, painful feelings. It emphasizes seeing the entire body itself as suffering.
The whole body.
Yes. And the things we usually list, birth, aging, sickness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, despair, they're not just bad events. They're part of the fundamental nature of this bodily existence.
Yeah.
seeing the whole mass as suffering.
Wow, that's much deeper than just feeling sad sometimes. It's like suffering is woven into the fabric of having a body, of being alive in this way.
Exactly. It's a fundamental realization. Then second, aya dukkha samudaya. This is the origin of suffering.
Where does it come from?
The source is crystal clear. Thaita, craving.
Craving.
Oh. And it breaks it down. 3 types. Kamatancha, craving for sensual pleasures. Pavatancha, craving for existence, for becoming something. And Vavatancha, craving for non-existence, to get rid of things.
And didn't the talk use some striking examples about wanting kids or a spouse?
Yes. Those examples make it really concrete. The source basically asks, okay, you crave children, you get them. Now what?
Well, you have to take care of them.
Right, the suffering of caring for them. What if you crave 100 children? Imagine the suffering. Impossible to manage. Same with a spouse. You crave one, get one. Then there's the suffering of care, potential loss, change.
And if you craved 100 spouses?
Impossible, right. But the point isn't just the hassle after you get what you want. The source points straight at the desire itself. The craving for existence, Pavatancha wanting that family life, or the craving for pleasure, Kamatancha in the relationship. That is the origin of the suffering that follows.
Wow. So the very act of craving, that wanting, that's what sets up the suffering. It shifts the focus, doesn't it? From blaming external things to seeing the internal impulse.
It's a direct, experiential knowing of the cause, not just thinking about it. Then, third, aya dukkha nirodha. This is the cessation of suffering.
How does it stop?
By extinguishing tacha. Craving. Simple as that, according to the source. When craving ceases, suffering ceases. That state is nirodha, cessation.
And craving and suffering. Simple, but not easy.
Definitely not easy.
Yeah.
And fourth, aya dukkha nirodha gamani payapada. This is the path leading to the cessation of suffering.
And the path is?
Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā.
Moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom.
Ah, the classic trio. Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā.
That's the one. So if you contrast this higher level with the lower, it's not just knowing about impermanence conceptually. The higher wisdom is this profound, direct knowing and seeing that yathabhuta understanding of suffering itself, its specific root cause, which is craving, and the specific path that directly leads out, Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā.
Knowing the truth as it is, deeply, realized.
Exactly. Realized wisdom. Okay, that distinction makes a lot of sense. Knowing about change versus directly knowing the Four Noble Truths as they are, it feels like a real progression. Now, you mentioned the path, Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā. How does the source describe their relationship? Are they like separate steps you take one after another?
The talk is actually pretty firm on this. It says they cannot be separated, fundamentally linked. They can't move apart.
Ah, so intertwined then, like strands in a rope.
So that's a good way to put it. You can't really have one fully without the others developing too. But interestingly, the source notes they might appear in different orders in teachings.
Oh, like sometimes it's not Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā.
Right. It mentions Paññā, Sīla, Samādhi, like in the Eightfold Path formulation, but Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā is also very common.
Why the different order?
Well, the source explains it's about tailoring the teaching. It gives the example of the Buddha teaching the Paññā his first 5 disciples. He started with Paññā for them. Why? Because they were apparently already really skilled in Sīla and Samādhi from their previous practices. They had that foundation.
Ah, so he gave them what they needed next. Lead with wisdom because the groundwork was there.
Exactly. It's about meeting people where they are on the path. Makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
So what about their functions? Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā in this inseparable trio?
The source breaks it down. Sīla, moral discipline, that's what deals with physical unwholesome actions. Keeps the body pure, actions ethical.
Right.
Samādhi, concentration. That tackles the mental stuff. The hindrances, laziness, restlessness, doubt, carelessness. It makes the mind firm, steady, mindful, even courageous.
So Samādhi isn't just passive quiet time, it's actively building mental strength.
Exactly. And crucially, the source calls Samādhi the origin or the basis of Paññā.
The foundation for wisdom.
Yes. You need that stable, concentrated mind for deep wisdom to arise. It's like the fertile ground.
And Paññā then?
Paññā is the crucial, subtle element that flowers from that ground. In that SSP sequence, it's described as the tip or the end, priyu, pla-I, is the Thai word used, the culmination in that view.
Got it. So Sīla purifies action, Samādhi stabilizes the mind, and Paññā is the wisdom that arises from that stability. They all work together.
Inseparably.
Okay, so we've covered the lower wisdom seeing impermanence and the higher wisdom knowing the Four Noble Truths as they are through Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā. But this source, it goes somewhere really different now, doesn't it? Something about how this wisdom is experienced or even seen inside.
Yes, this is where Luang Pu Wat Paknam's teaching, as presented in this talk, gets very distinctive. It starts describing an inner landscape, almost a physical reality inside you, tied to spiritual growth, wisdom, and liberation.
An inner geography. That sounds fascinating. Tell us more. What does the source actually describe?
It starts by defining mind. Yes, his mind is four things: seeing, remembering, thinking, and knowing.
Seeing, remembering, thinking, knowing, the core mental functions.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But then it says where these four are located.
Okay, not the brain.
Nope. According to this talk, they reside right in the center of the body. Sun Kong Kai.
The physical center of the torso, like right in the middle.
That's how it's presented,
Yeah,
yes, a specific point. And then it introduces this concept, the Dharmosphere. Dharmosphere. It says the fundamental sphere, this sphere-like thing that makes the human body. That's the foundation. It's described as pure, clear, like a hen's egg yolk.
Wow.
And those four aspects of mind, see, remember, think. No, they are layered one inside the other within this sphere at the body's center.
So, okay, hold on. There's this inner sphere, like an egg yolk, physically located at the center of the body, and our core mind functions are like nested inside it. That's a very concrete image for the mind.
It is very visual, and it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
The talk goes on to describe a whole progression through 18 inner bodies or spheres. 18. Starting from our coarse physical human body, moving through increasingly subtle inner bodies, all the way up to the body of an Arahant, a fully enlightened being.
Wow. 18 levels or bodies inside.
And each one, the source says, has its own dharma sphere at its center, just like the human one.
Okay. So how does this relate to the path to Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā?
Well, the path Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā, leading to vimutti, liberation, and vimuttinirodhāsana, the knowledge and vision of liberation, that path is traveled, according to this teaching, by progressing through the center of these successive bodies and their spheres.
You travel through them, through the center point.
Through the center. Each step deeper into the center of the next subtle body corresponds to freeing yourself from coarser kinds of suffering and defilement. It's an inner journey through these layers.
So the spiritual path isn't just abstract. It's presented here as literally moving through these inner dimensions, these bodies and spheres inside yourself.
That's the specific framework in this teaching, yes. And it gets even more detailed. It talks about Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā, Vimutti, and vimuttinirodhāsana also being spheres.
Spheres within the main Dharma sphere.
Exactly. Spheres within spheres, located inside the Dharma sphere of each of those 18 bodies.
Okay, my mind is slightly blown here. Spheres within spheres.
And wait till you hear the size description at the end. In the final body, the Arahant body, kāyas, these 5 spheres, Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā, Vimutti, vimuttinirodhāsana, they're all equal in size.
Okay, and how big?
As large as the Arahant's Dhammakaya lap width, which the source gives us 20 wa. No, wa is about 2 meters.
So 40 meters, roughly 130 feet wide, each sphere, inside.
That's what the source states. Immense spheres of realized Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā, and liberation within the Arahant body.
Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting. The idea that things like morality, concentration, wisdom, they might not just be concepts or qualities, but have an actual shape, a location, and even a size inside you, becoming enormous at liberation.
That's the truly unique part of this teaching, yes. It implies that true wisdom, Paññā, especially the higher kind, isn't just something you know about. It's something you can potentially see directly as a sphere.
Internally.
Through the right meditative practice. The source says, becoming skilled in the method. This is contrasted with that peel wisdom, just knowing about impermanence. The higher wisdom involves this direct internal seeing. The source suggests if you practice correctly, you can actually perceive the wisdom sphere, its location, its size. If you can't do the practice, you only have the idea of wisdom. You don't see it.
That's a huge difference. Knowing about wisdom versus being able to directly see it, experience it as a reality inside you. It makes wisdom feel like something tangible you can cultivate.
Exactly. It provides a very concrete, experiential goal for the practice itself.
And this whole journey through the bodies, cultivating these inner spheres, it leads to the Arahant state.
Yes. The source mentions the 10 components of an Arahant, but then summarizes them as those 5 we've been discussing. Sīla, Samādhi, Paññā, Vimutti, seen as those massive equal spheres.
Right.
And the Sīla, Samādhi, and Paññā at that level, the Arahant level, they're specifically called Lokuttara,
Lokuttara.
supramundane,
Yeah.
beyond the world, wisdom that has completely transcended the ordinary realm, its limits, its suffering.
Transcendent wisdom. And what's the ultimate state this leads to? Where does it all culminate?
Reaching arahantship, according to this talk, means entering a state described as viraga dhatu and viraga dhamma.
Viraga.
It means the element and the principle of dispassion.
Viraga. That sometime.
Dispassion. Does that mean indifference, like not caring? No, not apathy or indifference. It's described more as a state utterly free from the pull of craving, of attachment, of aversion, of all defilements. Pure freedom.
Ah, okay. Freedom from those forces.
Yes. The source even quotes a Pali phrase to underline how important this is. Sakhatav virago desai agamakayati.
Which means?
It translates it roughly as, among all things, conditioned, like our world, or unconditioned, like nibbana, dispassion is declared the supreme. So attaining that lokuttara paññā, that transcendent wisdom through the whole inner journey, it extinguishes all the defilements and lets one enter this supreme state. Pure dispassion. That's presented as the ultimate freedom from suffering.
Wow. Okay. So this one talk, it lays out this incredible map, starting with understanding impermanence, moving to deeply knowing the Four Noble Truths, suffering, craving, cessation, path, and then presents this extraordinary vision of the spiritual path as an internal journey, progressing through actual inner bodies and spheres that you can apparently see with practice.
Right, cultivating these inner qualities almost tangibly.
Culminating in this transcendent, supramundane wisdom and this ultimate state of dispassion. That's quite a framework.
It's incredibly detailed, yes. A very specific perspective on wisdom and development from this particular tradition.
So, thinking about this for you, our listener, what does it all mean? This deep dive into Luang Pu's teaching really offers a different way to think about wisdom, doesn't it? Not just head knowledge.
Definitely not just intellectual.
Right.
It presents wisdom as this profound experiential realization, something you actively cultivate through practice.
Leading step by step, or maybe body by body, towards liberation. It's like
Well,
an internal, almost physical map of the spiritual journey, quite detailed.
it really suggests wisdom isn't just about what you know up here, gestures to head, but what you can realize and maybe even perceive in here, gestures to body center, through dedicated practice.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. If wisdom isn't just something you think about or know conceptually, but something described here as a palpable internal reality, something you could potentially see and grow through specific inner practice, how does that shift your own understanding of what it means to be wise or what it means to walk a spiritual path?